welcome to the new Dead Stuff podcast. I'm here, my name's Tom, and I'm with my good friend Kevin.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we're going to be talking today about the infamous serial killer Edmund Kemper. This is a juicy one. This is a juicy one. Right. Do you want to get us started?
Well, born 1948, Montana. Had a very, 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 very rough early childhood. At the age of 1, his dad left the home, left the family home.
Him and his 2 sisters, wasn't it?
That's it. He was left with his 2 sisters, one older and one younger, and of course his mum, who wasn't a very good mum.
Yeah, old Clarnell.
Yeah, terrible.
Nasty woman.
Yeah, and so this is actually it's a Freudian wet dream. There's lots to go into the whole mum thing here. It's quite funny. Before we continue, is watching an interview, I heard one of the American police use the expression "cold mother," which was quite big in kind of social care in the kind of 70s, 80s and 90s, when they tend to blame the mum for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I find, before we get into it, the cold mother thing, it's like, you can't, when you say it, you're like, oh, you've got mummy issues, oh, your mum was not very nice to you.
Yeah.
It works.
It can have a huge effect.
Of course, yeah. Like, people get divorced and your kid will be 10. That could have, just the divorce makes a big effect on kids.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Kev works with that type of, in that profession. He knows a lot about it, so we'll get into it. So he was born in 1948, had a horrible mum, divorced at 1, like you said. And at a very early age, she basically made him stay in the basement.
Yeah, he had to sleep in the basement. She had this kind of... Not only did she daily humiliate him and was just horrible to him and abusive, she locked him in the kind of basement at night where he slept because she was afraid that he may sexually abuse his sisters.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, because there's not a lot of info, but why did she think that? There were little signs that he was a bit strange, but
is it another way to bully him and humiliate him?
Yeah, true.
Or did she just kind of think something's going on here?
Yeah, true. So he was in the basement for a few years, wasn't he, as a kid? Yeah,
he's asleep in the basement at night. There'd be rats. It would be dark. It was horrible, damp.
There
was one little light bulb with a little string.
Yeah.
It sounds from the interviews that the research.
It sounds like a dungeon, doesn't it?
Sounds awful, and he explained it like being in hell. He saw the TV room, the lounge as Earth. His sisters obviously slept upstairs. His mum had a bedroom upstairs.
Yeah, everyone but him.
And so he saw that as heaven. And in this young kid's mind, he thought, "Well, I'm in hell. I'm under the earth as such."
Yeah. And, you'd be there going, why? Like, what have I done wrong?
Yeah.
He's a tiny little kid. He hasn't done anything wrong.
Yep, and he grew to fantasize and have these morbid fantasies about killing his mum.
Yeah, he's left alone constantly. So it's escalated, hasn't it, to him fantasizing, and he ended up killing the 2 pet cats.
Yeah.
Decapitated the one because they were their pets. He was getting revenge. Yeah,
and they're also seen as a symbol of feminine, the female. So
he's doing that just to get revenge, and he's festering away, isn't he, in the basement? And so this happened for years and years and years and years, and he's gone to school as well, obviously, in the meantime, but he got bullied. Yeah,
because he was absolutely massive. He was a real tall kid. As a man, he grew to be 6'9", 6'9".
So when he was
under 300
pounds. Well, he said, didn't he himself? At 14, he was 6'3".
Yeah,
and that is, and he got bullied for that because, and he said, didn't he, in later interviews, that he thinks that if you're smaller than him, he's getting all the attention because he's so big.
Yeah,
and he's saying, well, I don't want the attention. I didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
But these kids are going, we're going to get, we're going to bully him. We're going to make him feel smaller because we're the smaller ones, and he's the big one.
Which is what his mum was doing on a daily basis as well, humiliating him, making him feel small. He was anxious.
So if you think about it,
confidence.
If you think about it, you're stuck in a basement. with nothing apart from a bed or whatever, maybe not even a toilet, we don't know. And his sisters and his mum are living the nice, lovely life upstairs in the warmth. You know, because what his mum would say.
Shut the basement door because it's don't let the cold upstairs. Something like this, you know.
Like kick him when he's down. Do you know what I mean? And then he goes to school. Then he gets bullied. Then he goes back to school. Can't talk to his mum.
No, because his mum, it would be another reason for his mum to humiliate him.
His mum will probably go, "Oh, shut up, you wimp," you know, like really, really put him down. Really, really put him down. So he's been there.
He never really had that love from, say, a primary caregiver. So
yeah, from the get go.
Yeah, absolutely, and the lack of attachment that he would have grown with his mum just didn't exist. He didn't trust her. He couldn't talk to her. He mentioned some of the interviews when he was going through puberty. He couldn't share any thoughts or feelings with his mum.
Yeah, nothing.
So as he was growing up through 8, 9, and then into teenage, into puberty, all these thoughts are just festering in his mind.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I said before about your job. Like my mum works in a similar job, and she was saying about the attachment theory. You can even have it in the womb, can't you?
Mate, it's so obvious. Once you look into attachment theory and babies, and it's just insane. If
you're neglected from even as soon as you're born, it stays.
Oh, mate, it has such a huge impact.
Yeah.
It affects how the early brain develops, which never really recovers.
Yeah.
You don't have that reciprocity where you're interacting with another person. You're neglected for a long time. It's just
human beings need communication. They need someone to they need someone else there all the time.
Yeah, they need to feel loved. They need to feel safe, secure, loved, and important.
Well, it's why I've seen millions of documentaries of solitary confinement. And some people can last quite long in there because of certain reasons, but some people last there for a week and they go completely mental.
Absolutely.
Because they just need that human interaction.
Yeah, and he didn't have the love from his sisters, it seems, because according to another bit of research, he was his older sister literally tried to kill him twice. She pushed him in front of a train and also pushed him into the deep end of a swimming pool where he nearly drowned.
And you think about it, like what if he did die? She would be. So she's got something going on there as well. But it obviously goes down to the boy aspect, because I was saying earlier to you, wasn't I, about there's three kids, two are girls, one's a boy.
Yeah.
Why is it pinpointed on the? So the mum's obviously got problems with men. Maybe her dad was horrible. Or whatever.
And intergenerational. Because we hear that her mum was also abusive. And stern and prone to punishment. So Kemper's mum, suffered from bad parenting and became a bad parent. Maybe she wasn't loved.
Well, when we were watching the one interview, because today we watched loads of interviews.
Over the last few weeks.
And he even kind of stuck up for his mum, didn't he? By saying my mum was berated and bullied by her mum again, and he was like, I can understand where it's coming from.
So he saw his mum as a victim as well.
Even though he hated his mum and whatever else. But, so we're going to get into the fact that when we mentioned before, his dad left when he was 1. His mum remarried when he was about 9, and apparently this stepdad was also an arsehole.
Not very nice.
And it got to a point when he was about 14, 15. He decided, fuck this, I'm going to go and track down my real dad, my dad.
He went to Los Angeles, found his dad, and by all accounts had a great 30, 40 days there. We hear
substantial amount of time to actually get to know him.
Yeah.
And it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, he felt, in interviews he said for the first time he felt that he had his dad's love. He had his dad's respect.
Sounds ideal, doesn't it? From the whole thing?
What a change, what a contrast. And he'd always idolised his dad. Kemper's a big fan of John Wayne, and sometimes in interviews he will say that his dad is a bit like John Wayne. So even though his father was removed, I believe that Kemper would have watched John Wayne movies and in his head kind of fantasised, well, that's like my dad.
Well, because he's obviously heard stories of his dad was in, wasn't he? He was in the forces, wasn't he?
Quite a secret.
Yeah, so he superheroed him in his head, hasn't he? And which a lot of people, I think they do. Parents where maybe the
dad's...
Especially
where one's removed.
Yeah, if your dad, say you got a mum and a dad and your dad's like an arsehole. He's not very nice, but he's nice to you. You kind of idolise him, especially if you're a young boy. Mm-hmm. So no matter what. So he's gone to track him down, hasn't he?
That's it.
And he stayed there for about a month or so.
Had a great time.
And what did he do? It was his dad got him work in the community, like mowing lawns with his stepbrother.
Gave him pocket money for the first time in his life.
Yeah, so he was living an actual normal child life, wasn't he?
He loves it. However, after 30, 40 days, they went to see his grandparents for Christmas.
Yeah. Which, straight away, he's like, oh, we're going on a trip. Like, this sounds amazing. You know,
yeah,
like,
Christmas presents.
Yeah, Christmas for the first time probably ever. And he's going to see his paternal grandparents that he probably has never seen or rarely.
That's right, yeah. Who lived in quite an isolated ranch. Mm. And they had a great 10 days there. And then Dad, the stepbrother, and the stepmum left. They left him there with his grandparents.
Yeah.
He didn't know it was going to happen. Me and Tom were talking, and we reckon that there was a lot of pressure from stepmum.
Oh, definitely.
You know,
because the dad sounds ideal. I reckon if it was just Ed that turned up and he was single, say, he'd be like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, us two together, you know.
And he might have had a completely different life.
Yeah, because why, for a start, why would he accept him into the house for a month in the first place? I reckon he's done that because it's my son.
Yeah.
Then the wife has gone, oh,
a bit bored of this.
Is that. Like, I want it just to be us three, not this other kid from your previous marriage.
And she'd have also been protective to her son.
Yeah.
From Kemper's dad.
And just jealousy as well. You know, like, oh, that's your firstborn, or you know, your first son. Yeah. This should be our unit, you know.
Yeah, so he was left at the grandparents' house where he stayed for 10 months.
And he's like, well, what have I done wrong?
Yeah, more rejection.
Yeah, pure rejection. So he's had this little teaser of a holiday, this ideal life with his dad, and then our theory is that, you know, we don't know if it's true or not, but anyway, he's got left behind, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
And he stayed there 10 months with his grandparents.
And his paternal grandmother, who is now his primary carer, was just as bad as his mum by all accounts.
So he's been dumped right back in the shit again.
That's it.
Which I think, like I said before, I think that's just kind of worse than going from your horrible mum to your horrible grandma, because he's had this little teaser of a
great life.
Yeah, like, and if he stayed there, you never know what could have happened.
Yeah, and also imagine this kind of father figure you've idolised all your life, rejecting you like that.
That is the worst. It's a proper kick when you're down, isn't it?
That would have been awful. So over these 10 months, he was living at his grandmother's and grandfather's house. He attended a school in the area, but his grandmother wouldn't let him hang out with the other kids, wouldn't let him go. Well, it was very rural anyway, very remote, but she wouldn't let him kind of go out of her sight really for more than an hour. And he had no friends while he was there. You know, grandma
controlling, wasn't she? Just like
very
his
controlling.
Mum.
And so ultimately,
he shot and killed her.
He shot and killed his grandma
over some argument apparently. And his granddad wasn't there. He was running an errand somewhere. And when he came back, according to Ed himself in later interviews, he shot and killed his granddad because he didn't want him to go through the grief and the heartache of...
And the upset
of killing his wife. You know?
Well, discovering his dead wife. And
which is obviously a bit of a twisted way to think about it.
Yeah, and we were chatting about this, and we were saying that it's possibly got to do with the look of the grandfather. You know,
oh yeah, definitely.
I don't think Kemper wanted to feel the shame or guilt. No, you know, and the look in his eye, it would have reminded him of his terrible act.
Yeah, and the fact that I think maybe, you know, he would have gone to prison, and his granddad say if he was still alive, when he's in prison, he would know that his granddad is still around, probably telling people,
still grieving,
even if he's not making contact with him.
Yeah, still grieving.
And obviously even worse if he visits him, writes letters to him saying, like, I can't believe he did this. You know, bringing it up all the time, basically. He's done that just to wipe out the memory, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. And then I think he phoned his mum. And then I think it was his mum. And then his mum said, phone the police, and he phoned the police.
Yeah.
And they came over and discovered the 2 dead bodies.
And bearing in mind, everyone, this is when he was 15.
Yeah.
Like, when I was 15, I was just getting pissed with my mates.
Yeah, I mean, he shot his grandma in the head.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
You know, poor guy at the start, you know, he's had this horrible start.
Proper childhood trauma.
And now he's got 2 murders under his belt from all this trauma.
Yeah.
And he's gone to the, I can't remember the name. Is it the...
Was it Acosta?
Oh, what was it called? Let me just check my notes. Atasadero State
That's
Hospital.
Essentially for the criminally insane.
Yeah, and he was 15 years old.
Adult place, yeah.
And he was there for 6 years. Like 6 whole years at 15.
And at that time, over the course of the 6 years, he gained a lot of trust from the staff there.
Yeah,
He was helping do like minor administration roles. He'd help administer psychometric tests.
Well, he had access, didn't he, to all the paperwork and all the tests that they would administer on other patients.
Yeah, which reminds me, while he was there, he had an IQ test, 135 or 136 first time.
Yeah, which is amazing. And then he ended up on 146.
That's it. They tested him again, 146, which means he's in the highest 1% of the population.
At 15. Or in between 15 and 20
maybe
or whatever.
16 when he did it second time.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And they trusted him because he was a lovely dude.
He aced every test they gave him.
Yep. So they were obviously thinking on the flip side, excuse me, I'm drinking beer here. They're thinking, well, our techniques and our treatment's working.
Yeah, this guy, an ideal patient.
Yeah, he's killed 2 people, but he seems like a pretty rehabilitated guy. Like, and he would, he said, whilst he was there, he would fantasize about all these like morbid things.
Really morbid stuff.
About, was it, he dreamt about severed heads, women's severed heads.
Yeah, he wanted to, this is a quote from him, he wanted to possess the severed heads of women. Like
he just wanted to collect them, basically. And but all the while he's there going, "Hello, I'm Ed. I'm a normal guy now," and making friends with him, whatever. And then he did obviously all the tests at the end, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he got released
on his 21st birthday.
On his 21st birthday.
21st birthday, and they said, "Oh, yeah,
happy 21st, mate."
Yeah. Good luck. Because it was a juvenile crime. You know, if he was going to spend the next 2 years being monitored or so, it would be expunged, so it wouldn't actually be on his record ultimately.
Yeah.
But they also said when he left, what the clinician said, don't let him move back to his mum's house, which is unfortunately exactly what he did.
Yeah. So, like I said, I was talking to you earlier, the root cause, which he would have mentioned because he was very open, wasn't he, about everything?
Well, apart from some of the really morbid fantasies he had, because he didn't want to tell anybody about these.
Yeah.
But he was open about everything else. He'd come across charming, good-natured.
But he was obviously mentioned about his mum.
Yeah.
So he said, like, my mum's this, my mum's that, I hate her, I want to kill her probably, and then blah, blah, blah. They've gone, oh, well, I wouldn't advise you going back to your mum's. But, you know, whatever. And he did. And it's like his mum, except because obviously I think he probably had nowhere else to go because he wouldn't have gone there.
I mean, who would have him if he's killed you, you know?
Exactly. Why does he come out of a mental institute for the criminally insane?
Yeah,
Like...
it's like something out of a Batman movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
It kind of is.
So he's gone back to his mum's this is when he was 21. So he was, this maybe for a good 2 or 3 years, wasn't it? That he was there. Yeah. And nothing happened, right? So we're thinking he's bottling it, you know, he's ready to burst.
Yeah, and his mum wouldn't have been nice. You know, she wouldn't have changed, would she? Really?
So
but by now he's gone back and he's murdered his, paternal grandparents. But also she was giving him a hard time because she wasn't satisfied with his social status.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Why aren't you a doctor?
Yeah, she was disappointed with the fact that, you know, maybe he didn't have a good job or he didn't have a girlfriend. He wasn't like a typical man type thing, and he was a wimp and all this. So she was giving him all this stuff, but apparently never really mentioned the fact that he killed his grandparents.
No, she kind of yeah.
So she was more like she wanted him to be this successful young man and, you know, bullied him over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, never. So he's stayed at his mum's for a few years.
That's it. He's got all these pent up morbid fantasies.
And this is where, you know,
they're growing and they're growing and they're growing.
Exactly.
And before because he's ultimately going to go on to commit murder. Before that happens, he spends a couple of years living in Santa Cruz in California. And during that time, police believe he picked up either between 450 to 1,000 hitchhikers as he was kind of preparing to live out his fantasy of murdering.
Yeah, so this was over 2-3 years. And it's probably one every day, one every other day, or every other couple of days, say. And we were saying, weren't we, it's down to the fact that he's free now. He can do what he wants.
Yeah, you're safe in your car. You're not
He's
at
not in
home.
a basement anymore.
Not in a basement.
So he can get in his car, drive as long as he wants, as far as he wants, pick up whoever he wants.
Yeah. And at one stage in one of the interviews, because there's loads of interviews on YouTube, he does love to talk. He mentions preparing of how to influence and manipulate hitchhikers.
Yeah.
And so he had these little pantomimes he'd play when he was approaching a hitchhiker to make him feel even more safe.
Yeah.
One of them was he'd glance at his watch as if he's checking to see if he's got enough time to pick up this person because he might have some place to go.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm in a rush. Yeah, you can have a lift.
Yeah, you can have a lift.
They'll go, oh, yeah, well, he's obviously not going to do anything to us because he needs to be somewhere. And
yeah, he's got to do something in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and he's a likeable guy. Like, you watch all the footage of him, and you get so immersed in his, like, the way he talks and the way he is. Like Cops said when he hung out with them, he's just a nice guy. He was
they
likeable.
called
He
him
made
a
funny
great
jokes.
guy. They said he was
wasn't
a real
that
nice
weirdo in the
fella.
corner that you're like, that's definitely that serial killer.
But that is just how manipulative, isn't it?
Exactly. That was just bravado, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
To get everyone on his side.
A well-honed act.
Yeah. So he's picked up all these different hitchhikers over the time, and what he was doing was he was preparing.
Yeah, fantasizing
thinking,
about how
am I going to do this? So he's probably had hundreds of girls
yeah.
in this car, and he's gone, maybe I can't do it this way, I can't do it. I could do it that way, but with the next person.
Yeah.
So he's experimenting, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's perfected in locking the car door without the girl hitchhiker knowing the door.
Yeah,
locked.
what was the story?
He'd lean over. He was a tremendously massive guy, as big as Chewbacca. He was absolutely massive, and he'd lean across the lady in the passenger seat. He'd go, "Oh, your door's not shut properly." He'd open it, and then he'd shut it. But in his hand, he'd secretly put a chapstick.
Oh yeah.
He'd drop that behind the lock mechanism, which would be invisible to the passenger. But it meant when you tried to open the door, it wouldn't open. The mechanism wouldn't work. That is like, you know, that's
and you
cunning.
know what he's done as well.
That's totally obviously premeditated.
Of course it is.
You know,
Yeah, like he's picked up, like I said, hundreds before, and then he's probably got home and he's probably stood outside his car going, right, put this in there, clink, and he's like, oh, that doesn't work. Yeah. Oh, I've got chapstick lying about. Try that. Oh, it's worked.
And how many times do you reckon he got home and thought, oh, I could have done it then, but I didn't have the bottle?
Oh, 100%.
Well, I couldn't have done it then. I'll do it tomorrow.
Well, like we were saying, out of potentially 1,000 people in his car, that you know, the small, not say small, but like the people he ended up killing compared to that amount of people he picked up, you know, he could have killed a lot more.
Yeah.
But he was really planning it, wasn't he?
Yeah, totally. And then he finally got to live out his fantasy.
Right, yeah. So the first two hitchhikers he picked up were 18-year-old Marianne Pesh and also 18-year-old Anita Lucchesa. And he picked them up near the uni campus in Berkeley. And before they started driving, he did the chapstick thing. So he's locked them in already.
Yeah.
So here we go.
He's made up his mind. Isn't he?
Straight away. That they were the victims that he was going to follow through with it. And he's driven them to, you know, towards where they wanted to go, but then he's gone to a remote spot and they've obviously panicked. He's got them at gunpoint, and he's got Anita into the trunk, and he's put her in the trunk, he's locked it, got back in the car, and stabbed Marianne Pesh to death.
Yeah, inches away from her friend locked in a boot, who would have heard those screams.
Heard it all, not been able to help, absolutely terrified.
Terrifying. I mean, 6'9", 200 pounds, huge guy.
Yeah.
It's just...
And she's probably thinking in the trunk, like, I'm going to die. And inevitably, he's gone to the trunk and he's also stabbed her to death.
Yeah.
And what he's done is he's taken them both back to his rented apartment and he's dismembered them both, which, that's a lot of work. Like, that would have taken him all night. Yeah, and then he simply dumped them in the mountains. And that's it. They're disposed of like they're trash.
That's it.
Like because they're inanimate to him. It's like chucking away some chicken bones, you know, just like, yeah, whatever. So yeah, that was the first two.
And at that time, obviously, there's going to be a report of two missing girls. But you know, there's a lot of hippies. It's California. You know, there's students. I don't think
Early
the police,
70s.
I don't think the police really would have done much immediately.
Yeah, runaways, like we were saying, like cults.
Yeah,
You know, they could have done anything. They could have been.
The police were, you know, ultimately, you know, the police did go on to believe it might be hippies or some kind of cultural deviants committing these crimes.
Well, they used to patrol, didn't they, to pick up hitchhikers, to take them to the juvenile hall to look after them. But all these teenagers were very like, oh no, go away, coppers. Like,
well, this was
you're trying to spoil our fun.
Yeah, because ultimately, you know, when a few more young girls, young students go missing, that's what the police did. They tried to discourage young girls from hitchhiking in the area.
And obviously, like it's today, if you were hitchhiking and the police officer turned up, you'd be like, yeah, I'll get in with you. I'm not getting in with some random bloke. But back then, that was a normal thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember hitchhiking around Europe.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you're still here.
I'm still here.
You know what I mean?
Thank God.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we got another victim, which is the worst one in my opinion. It's for you as well, isn't
It's awful. 15-year-old girl. I mean, it's terrible. So, you know, all the murders are terrible. But I just can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine somebody murdering an 18-year-old girl.
Yeah.
But just imagining somebody murdering a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Who's like Kempler size.
Pure child.
It's just it's really sickening. I mean, they're all sickening, but it's even more sickening.
So her name was Aiko Koo. And she was a budding young ballet dancer, wasn't she?
That's right. She missed a bus to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Wanted to get to a dance class. She had made a sign, which she had held, saying, "I need a lift to San Francisco."
And who happened to turn up?
Edmund picked her up.
And he picked her up, and he bound, gagged her, tortured her, and killed her. And he had sex with the body afterwards. And then he put her in the trunk of his car, parked up, and just went for a couple of beers.
He went for a few beers at a pub frequented by
Full
police.
of cops.
Which is where he used to hang out.
Oh, have you captured this serial killer yet,
That's
mate?
it.
Oh, no, we haven't got any leads. And he's there going, ha, I'm smarter than you. And he's got a 15-year-old dead child in his boot.
And, you know, later on when he was captured, a lot of the police in that bar that hung out of him would say, oh, you know...
Lovable guy.
He was a great guy.
Yeah.
They couldn't believe it. He was called a gentle giant.
Yeah, and with the interviews that you watch, like I would, you know, if you're in... Obviously, people that are listening to this are interested in this sort of stuff and you don't quite know about Ed Kemper, I would urge you to watch them because they are so fascinating because he's so open.
He is so open, but at the same time, he is kind of manipulative.
Yeah.
And he is kind of grooming... He's grooming the viewer... to like him.
Yeah, and that's what he did with the cops. So he's gone in there.
And at the hospital when he was a kid.
Yeah. And you can understand why the cops loved him and didn't even look at him twice. Because you watch the interviews and you're like, you forget that who he is for 10 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he makes jokes and you're like, oh, that's quite funny. And you go, oh my God,
But he's
oh my God,
killer.
he's not all there. Like, But it's just, that's why it's so fascinating to me, I think. But yeah, next up we have a lady called Cindy Scholl. She was also 18, and she was a local babysitter.
That's right. She's a babysitter some of the kids, some of the cops' children.
Kids, yeah. So this was really closely related, and he's getting closer, isn't he? That's quite.
Yeah. That's yeah.
So he's got.
And he said he there was some kind of link with her because you know he killed her, decapitated her, took the head home, buried it in his mum's garden, underneath his bedroom window,
facing
his bedroom window.
And I'm thinking that's more of like, for some reason he had a connection. Maybe he was infatuated with her straight away.
I reckon he picked her up hitchhiking, and there might have been some conversation.
Yeah, and he actually thought, I quite like her.
And he thought, I'm going to kill her, but I quite like her.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, there's that famous quote, isn't there? Ed Kemper said something along the lines of, there's two things I think when I see a pretty girl walking down the street.
Oh.
Number one would be what it'd be like to take her out on a date, you know, romance her, etc.
Be nice and get her flowers.
Number two was, I wonder what her head would look like on a stick.
Yeah, he had this, yeah.
So he's conflicted, right? So with Shoal, he's sat with her and thought, I actually really like her, but he's still got all this stuff in his head that's overtaken him.
Yeah.
He's got the devil on one shoulder that's going, you've got to do it, mate. You've got to do it. Because of all the stuff he's been through before. That's overpowered him.
I mean, he's
So he's
there's a trauma to that guy. You don't want to, it's hard to kind of justify his actions, and I don't want to,
Yeah.
But the abuse and the trauma and the rejection
Exactly.
and then this hatred of women to the point where he wants to cut their heads off. It's
exactly, and this is why it's so fascinating. When like we were saying before, like all the when the police would try and take them there, it just baffles my mind that if they all realised that it's not safe, then a lot of them would be still here now.
Yeah, totally.
But like I said back then.
Yeah, well, the first, and now there's been four murders.
Yeah.
And the police, I reckon they're now getting very, very worried about it. And, and taking it more seriously.
They're connecting it
than just two missing kids.
Yeah. It's not two runaways.
Yeah,
it's getting a bit more.
Now it's four victims.
So the next one was a lady called Rosalind Thorpe, and she was in her 20s. And she was taken from the Santa Cruz campus.
Which is where he had access to because his mum worked there.
Yeah, this is it, yeah. So his mum worked there as I think a receptionist or something, not a teacher.
Administration.
Yeah.
He resented the college because it took up a lot of his mum's time. Maybe that's why she was drinking. Maybe that's why she had no time for him. And we know that he already kind of hated women.
Yeah.
And
then he goes to... because he used to take his mum to work sometimes, pick her up or whatever. And he's got there, and he's surrounded by all these like young, pretty women that he's never had any contact with before because of like previous things that happened in his life. And his mum's there. He hates his mum, and he's looking around at these girls, and he's already killed a couple of girls. So he's just it's like the temptation's there, isn't it, all the time?
Yeah. So another one.
But the next one, was Rosalind Thorpe. Yeah, and then Alison Liu, who completely disappeared at 21, and I'm not sure. I think they might have found the remains, but I'm not sure how she was killed. But it would have been in the similar way. I think she was suffocated and dismembered afterwards. But yeah, so this now is becoming towards the end.
That's it. So now he's murdered, including his grandparents, 8 people.
8 people. Yeah, sorry,
8 people. And this is when, coincidentally, the police have to visit him.
Yeah, they're looking at their files, aren't they? And like, this guy's bought a gun, but it looks like he's not actually legally allowed to buy one. That's
right. They had some notification come through, and they even described him, didn't they? They said it's a 6 foot, a 9-inch guy, 300 pounds. He's brought a gun, and some of the receipt was blanked out that the police saw. But they could hold it up to light, and they could see it was a Magnum 44. I think that's what happened to the paperwork.
Yeah, it wasn't the gun. It was another one, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, he had another gun in the car, which the police didn't know about, but they knew. But because of this receipt, they knew he had a Magnum 44.
Yeah.
So they sent a policeman to his house to get the gun.
Purely, just
coincidentally,
they didn't have any clue about him. And they knew him, didn't they?
Yeah, they kind of knew him, and they knew that he had obviously done something in the past, which meant he couldn't own this kind of gun.
Yeah.
But he already had the trust of most of the police. He was a regular in their local pub. They all liked him. They thought he was a gentle giant. And so he just went there to get the gun, and he didn't think too much about it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's like, he's killed his grandparents in the past. He's got this illegal gun. We're going to go take it off him.
Yeah, he's massive.
And he's massive. And there's a serial killer on the loose, potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's a nice lad.
Nice guy. He's
I
a
had
Republican.
a Guinness with him last night, and we had a proper nice chat, but it can't be him, like. So they took the gun off him, and that was that.
Yeah, but when they took the gun off him, they got to the area where he lived. They couldn't find his house. They were unsure where he lived. And then he actually pulled in at the time. The coppers approached his car to ask him for directions to Kemper's house.
It was hard to find, wasn't it? Because it was where he lived with his. He still lived with his mum.
Lots of houses very close together, and who got out the car was this 6'9" guy, and so the police knew it was him. They said, have you got this Magnum 44? You've got to take it in. And he said, yes, it's in the boot. He went round to the boot. The two policemen were there. Now, cops are trained when somebody goes to the boot of the car just to be a little bit careful.
Oh, yeah, like in case they kick off.
Just in case, yeah. So the cops separated it a little bit. He opened up the boot, and in the boot there was this blanket. And he reaches in, gets the gun, passes it to a copper. Now, the American policeman realised at this point that within the boot of the car, the trunk, there was no lining. And he thought it was a bit weird, but he didn't think too much of it. He didn't think too much of it at the time. They take the gun and they leave. Now Ed, he's freaked out. He was cool though, he tried to keep his cool, but he was freaked out, and he now believes that actually the police might suspect him, and they're playing a kind of cat and mouse game with him, and they're toying with him.
Yeah, because we were talking before, weren't we? If you think about it, if you were him, and they turned up to your door at that time, when you're prolific and you're like in the middle of this killing spree,
terrible killing spree,
and they know you as well, so they could just think, oh, it might be him. We know where he lives, and they go to your house and they get this gun. They might be like just poking and prodding you a little bit just to see, and they might be surveilling
this is what
you.
This is what he really believes.
So,
because he was also paranoid.
Yeah.
Totally.
I don't blame him, because I would be a bit like, I want to go and kill another girl, but this copper turned up to my house today. It's a logical thing, isn't it, to me? But apparently, was it 2 weeks later? But did
it was very. I think it might have been a few days later.
Yeah, didn't he move states? Did he moved somewhere else?
I think he might have moved away, came back, and then he was, this is within a few days. He thought the police were going to catch him.
Yeah,
he didn't want his mum to find out.
Oh God, this is the end of this kind of spree.
Yeah,
but it's not. Yeah, it's not nice. Go on.
So this is where. So he went back to his mum's house. And he got in there. It was late at night, and his mum was a bit drunk. His mum drank quite a bit, apparently. And he was chatting to his mum.
Sorry, this is going to be worse, because if your mum's drunk as well, and she's already a knob.
Yeah, and he thinks the police are going to arrest him the next day because he's a serial
killer. And he turns up and his mum's drunk, gives him loads of shit.
And his mum says, I don't want you, I suppose you want to stay up all night and chat.
Oh, sorry, Mum. Sorry that I want to bond with you, like.
Yeah, and this sent him into a rage. However, he apparently left the room, went into his bedroom.
He went to bed, didn't he?
Went to bed, whether he was in the basement or never had a bedroom by now. Mm-hmm. And where he stewed till 4 a.m. Then he got a hammer and went downstairs, and to quote Ed himself, he said he caved in his mum's head with a hammer, then decapitated it, and cut out her vocal cords.
Put them in there. Was it the garbage disposal, wasn't it? And apparently he said it's so she can't shout at me anymore.
He wanted to take revenge on the vocal cords that had been humiliating him all
his whole life. Yeah.
He did terrible things with the head, terrible things with the.
Should I say it?
No, I don't think you should say it. Terrible things with the body.
I mean, there are documentaries that you can watch on YouTube that do say it. Well, so I don't know. Are we going to be?
You say it.
Are we? Yeah, Kev has always been opposed to saying this, but he. Put his penis in his mum's mouth, and it was a decapitated head. So he did those, and then he put it on.
Just throwing darts at his
he put it on
head.
a mantelpiece, and he would throw darts at it. So this is him making the most of getting his own back on his mum.
He spent an hour apparently screaming at the decapitated head. This is. And he's been open about this, hasn't he? Yeah, he says all this on all his interviews.
Because I think now he knows it's the end of the road. So he's making the most of that one last bit, which is the person that he believes is the root cause.
Well, this is like the big Freudian ending here.
Yeah, the Freudian what?
Freudian, I can't even say it, Freudian ending. Where he's eventually, well, in fact, it's a bit of a reverse. It's not Oedipus, is it? It's not Oedipal. He doesn't kill his father. He destroys his mother.
Yeah. And symbolically, it's not just he stabbed her and killed her and left her there and gone, I'm getting revenge. He has gone to town.
He said that he humiliated, I think he also said once that he humiliated the corpse.
Which is what, And he definitely did that.
And then, so he hides a body and he panics because his mum's got a very good friend And so he invites his mum's friend over.
Yeah, this is what I didn't know.
This lady turns up.
Yeah, right, because I knew the sort of outlines of Ed Kemper. And I knew all this, and like even the corpse and the head stuff. But like when we rewatch stuff, and it's apparently he killed his mum, and then he's obviously thought, well, she's going to be a missing person. So he's thought, how am I going to get out of this if I can? So he's invited his mum's friend over.
So he can murder her and give the illusion that they're both away on vacation together.
Yeah, so where's your mum and her mate? Oh, they've just nipped to so-and-so for a few weeks. So he's given himself time.
Yeah, he was trying to kind of create some kind of crazy alibi as such, you know.
Yeah, and then he's kept him in 2 different closets, hasn't he, in the house?
Yeah, hidden well. But at this point, apparently he left a note, didn't he?
Oh, God, this is...
Which the police later find. However, before that happens, he hides the bodies well, but there's a lot of blood and gore underneath, like the duvets and the mattresses.
Yeah. It's going to be all a bit mushy, isn't it?
He flees the county, or maybe the state, goes to the state next door, and that's when he phones the police and confesses, which they did not believe at first.
Yeah, because they knew him.
Yeah, you should go to my mum's house. I've killed my mum. I've killed my mum's friend. Oh, and by the way, I'm the co-ed killer. Oh. I've murdered those 6 young girls.
1, can you imagine like how shocked they'd be because it's him, and 2, how stupid they felt.
Oh,
he was right under their nose. They've gone, oh mate, he was there the whole time.
And they were trying to blame hippies and cultists and cultural deviants. In quotes.
It can't be Ed, Big Ed. Like, oh, that's what they actually called him, Big Ed, didn't they?
Mate,
Oh, hi, Big Ed. How's it going? Do you want a pint?
Yeah, they all thought he was a great guy.
Yeah. But it's the typical thing with a lot of serial killer cases, like Ted Bundy. Jeffrey Dahmer was a little bit weird, but he kept himself to himself. But like Ted Bundy, everyone loved him. He was just a really upstanding dude, same as Ed Kemper, and that's the manipulation, isn't it, coming in?
Mate, they are so
they know
clever.
What they're doing.
Like Epstein now, is it? And the paedophile.
Oh, it can't be him.
I mean, he would have been a master manipulator, and
So he's rang in, confessed,
and November '73, I think, was a court case. He went to court.
Yeah.
And so now
No, wait. Sorry, go back to the note that he left.
Oh yeah, right. So when the cops got
he's
to
not
the
there,
house,
and he said like, I've done this and done that to my mum and her mate, and it's so and so, and I'll tell you another time when you capture me or whatever, and I'll come in. And they've gone to the mum's house, and it wasn't the copper said like, oh, we tried to go through this back window or whatever, and we saw like a sheet over a bed or whatever, and they went in.
It. And blood everywhere, and there's a little note. Dear gents, sorry about the mess. Sorry about the mess.
How considerate of you, Ed. Yeah.
And
sorry about the mess. Nothing about the bodies, because again, this comes back to the fact that they're so inanimate to him.
Yeah, they're they're now irrelevant. They've served their purpose as such.
Yeah. Once they're dead, he's done his thing.
Yeah.
So he's sorry about the mess. Like they're going to go, May, I know you've killed like 10 people, but that blood was everywhere. That was really annoying, that took a lot of time of us, Like,
yeah,
why?
They took him in, he confessed to all the murders.
Yep.
And then he went round and he showed him where all the bits were buried and stuff.
Like from the point of confession, everything came out, didn't it?
Yeah, he was just completely open, completely honest. He just blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Lots of, it's my mum's fault.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Mummy didn't love me.
Yeah, there's.
But like you've got people like you kind of compare it to, say, like I know about, say, Ian Brady.
Yeah.
Right. Up until he died, he still didn't tell anyone where the last child was buried. Because in my mind, I'm pretty sure this is like standard, but it's because he knew that people would always come back and talk to him. He was a narcissist and loved the attention.
Yeah, and the power.
Because if he told them years ago, say in the 60s when it happened, if he told them, then that would be it forever for him.
And he would no longer be terrorising anyone. But all the time he kept that a secret, he was terrorising
he loved it.
Kids, mum, family, brothers, sisters.
Yeah.
Control.
Yeah. Like haha, you don't know where your son is, like, I'm evil, you know, and this mum's going through absolute terror, like, you know, such heartache for years, and she died, bless her, without knowing where he was. And that's, with Ed, that's why it's so different. So different. You know, and there's there's like Dharma, who did say a lot of stuff, but there was little things where he kind of denied or whatever. But Ed Kemper, they proved that everything he said was completely true.
And the tapes were played in the courts of his confessions, and apparently, obviously, the parents were there.
Yeah.
Of all the girls that he had murdered, and it was, you know, awful. He's just there admitting everything, going into detail, and, you know, the mums and dads are hearing this.
Yep. And so he eventually got, 7 consecutive... Well, he called it CCs, didn't he, in that thing?
Yeah.
And there's an interview with him, and he's talking again.
7 to life times
CC.
8.
Yeah. And it's consecutive, which is at the same time, isn't it? So he's never going to get out of prison.
Good.
Ever.
Thank God for that.
Like, I had to look, because it would have passed me. I didn't know if it passed me by or not, but I was like, is he still alive? But he is. He's still alive, yeah. And he's still in the same medical facility in California, if I'm right in thinking. But he's still there now, and he's about 70-something.
Goodness
Maybe
me.
nearly. I don't think he's even 80 yet, which blows my mind, because my grandfather is 90, and he's still with it, like. And this guy's done all this stuff, and he's still there, like. Might have another 20 years for all we know.
Well, and, you know, yeah, and because, you know, we've watched all these interviews... He seems to love his notoriety. He loves being on TV. He loves talking.
I tell you what,
he loves the interviews.
Yeah, a week ago, if I'd have wrote to him and said, "Do you want to be on this podcast?" I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
he went, yeah, go on.
Yeah,
he loves it. You know, he would at 9 times out of 10 say, "Yeah, I'll do an interview."
And again, in prison, he's a model prisoner.
Yeah,
he has recorded books for the blind. He's very, very good at it.
And we've
apparently.
listened to a few, haven't we? Like,
yeah,
not
the whole thing. We were checking them out. It's really, you know, it's a bit dark.
Like, you listen to it and you're like for the first 30 seconds, you're like, oh yeah, and because he read Star Wars and he's like, yeah, Luke Skywalker, and it's like, oh shit, I'm listening to Ed Kemper here. Like,
and so there's all these, and they were sent out to for a blind charity in America. So somewhere on all these American shelves, there are recordings of
physical recordings
of him. You know, narrating Star Wars. It's just a bit weird. You know.
But apparently, like you said, he was good at it. Very
animated.
Well,
he ended up teaching the other prison staff how to do it. He gave them lessons on how to read books out loud and how to narrate.
God, man, like.
And another interview, he's bragging about the trophies he's won in prison.
Yeah.
And the awards he's won.
Like being a model, like having jobs, like higher up jobs.
Yeah, because he's got jobs, and he's got a kind of like, it looks like he's got a level of trust.
Yeah.
From the staff in the prison.
And it was in that interview with the French guys, wasn't it? And he says, "Oh yeah, did you see the trophy cabinet?"
When you came in the reception.
And he goes, "Did you see that big one, the big grand one?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's been there for so many years." And he's like, "I've been on that for about 14 years."
Yeah,
and
he's really proud of it.
And they're asking about certain little intricate things about his mum or the murders
and the sisters.
Yeah, and the sister. And he's like, "Yeah, they did this and did that." And then he goes on the tangent, doesn't he?
He goes on this massive story where he completely manipulates the interview.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he's completely in control of what he says. He's completely, you know, manipulating. He's a very clever motherfucker.
He is, yeah. And like I said before, when you're watching him, you forget about everything straight away, because he's such a, you know, in quotation, like a normal seeming guy.
And he tells his interesting stories.
Yeah, he does. He actually,
and then you think, fucking hell, he's killed all these
When
people.
he was talking about that Herbie Mullen, about the peanuts and stuff, like...
Man, yeah. Behavioural, what's it called?
Oh, yeah. So, basically, there's another serial killer, which we probably cover at some point, called Herbie Mullen.
From the same area at the same time.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
And that's it. We were saying about in the 70s in America, that was a dangerous place to be.
Goodness.
Like Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Jesus Christ, like, no thanks. And there's more of them. But this Herbie Mullen was in the same prison as him for a while. And he was in the cell near him, wasn't he?
Yeah, next door.
And he found a way, because he used to sing all the time, didn't he? Sing.
And annoy the other prisoners.
Whilst they're watching TV. Constantly singing.
Yeah, Herbie was singing.
Yeah, Herbie was singing. Yeah. And everyone was like, shut up. And he's like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm just keep singing. And Ed was thinking, oh, how am I going to deal with this? Like, I'm going to like manipulate him again.
So he bought 20 packets of peanuts.
Because he knew he liked this specific type of peanut.
Yeah, he loved these little packets of peanuts.
And he said, I offered him these peanuts. And he said, oh, thanks, mate. And he was like, he wondered why he was giving it to him without like anything in return type thing.
Yeah, that's it. There was no dodgy deal going on.
So he used it. He basically pulled him in with these peanuts. And then he used to try and throw water over him when he was singing to stop him. And he got one of the other, was it guards that had to watch him where he was in his cell?
It was a prisoner in the opposite.
Yeah, to go like and hand signals.
Yeah, and he would he kind of asked the prisoner opposite to stand in the cell where Herbie was. So Kemper knew where to get a cup of water and throw it at him.
And then go, here's your peanuts.
And so if Herbie was bad, he'd get a cup of water. But if Herbie was good, he'd get a bag of peanuts. But Herbie wasn't aware of this. But over time,
it was just an experiment. So he was using his intelligence in prison to go like, I'm really smart. I've been caught, but I'm gonna. And so he was doing all these weird different things.
Which I believe he does all the time, and every interaction he does with a screw as well, a prison guard.
Like he won't let his guard down. He won't say, I can't believe I've done this. You know, he won't say all these certain things that like most people would. He still acts like I'm a really nice guy. You can still like me. I've had this trauma. He's trying to keep you on his side.
And I bet he still has those terrible, morbid, bloody.
Oh, definitely. I bet he's going at it in his cell.
You can't get away from that.
All these severed heads. Yeah, because those images aren't going to leave your mind, especially if you've done it yourself.
I bet he loved Game of Thrones, isn't he?
They're in the rec room, and it's like they're putting Game of Thrones. Don't let Ed in here.
It's not season 7, episode 2, is it? Keep him out.
Yeah, no, he's going to do something, and ain't going to be nice.
Dear.
Right. We're going to end it on that. We'll end it on a bit of a light note, I think, Kev.
Yeah, good idea.
So, yeah, that was Ed Kemper, and if you haven't really heard of him, honestly, look him up. I know we've summed him up, but there's a lot more to it, isn't there? You can watch more.
And Ed, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Game of Thrones, watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you'd enjoy it, mate, but do it in the privacy of your own cell.
Yeah, please.
Right, anyway, so thank you so much for listening. This has been Dead Stuff, and this has been Kev. Say bye, Kev.
Bye, Kev.
Right, yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll be with you in the next couple of weeks with a new episode. In the meantime, we're going to be doing more research, and there's going to be frequent videos, and we'll let you know online. It'll be everywhere. So yeah, thank you very much.
And don't go killing anyone. Okay,
yeah,
don't.
That's wise advice from Kev.
That's
there.
It, don't kill anyone.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.